Hey Pete, what are they doing right across your parking lot to where the soccer field was?
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just let you know, I'm not feeling too well tonight, so if I have to run out, you'll know why. College poisoning has been going for 3 days. I don't recommend it. We get the minutes out, right, Tom? I'll be a little bit late. Everyone have a chance to look at them? Any comments at all? All right, motion to accept the minutes. I'll make the motions, second by Jeff. Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. By the way, Jeff, I think I gave, you got it? Okay, I need Tom to figure it out. Yep. At the infamous cooler from last July. So it made its way back. Good. Okay, treasurer's report, Mr. Hackman.
All right. So, total membership dues, $825, interest, 42 cents. The reimbursement from the 4th of July, $5,400. Website, $451. Bill or franchise tax, fees, $30. And bank service charge, $5. So, any balance is $5,936.21 as of April 30th.
Any questions? Just so everyone knows, the reimbursement was because we have to pay for things in advance, porta potties, insurance. We sometimes don't have the money in the 4th of July account yet, so we make a small loan from the GHADA account, seeing as how we're subsidized GHADA, and then that money comes back once we raise it. So I'm gonna ask everyone here this year to really help us raise money, because we need to come up with an extra $32,000. As we've been talking, because the fireworks prices are up. Everybody's doing a $250, plus there's tariffs and all sorts of other things. So the price for oohs and ahs went up this year substantially. So we shall see how that works out. We've already made the deposit, so we're halfway there. And by the way, it's non-refundable, so if we don't come up with the rest of it, we spend a lot of money for nothing. All right, motion to accept the treasurer's report as provided. So moved by Trish, seconded by Jeff. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go right into flagship full-service car wash, the Spotless brand. Frederick Pitstoffer is here, the land use attorney that's been representing. You remember Fred, he's always the dapper dressed one, like most attorneys are.
Thanks, Mark.
And I think, is John with you too? I see John back there. Yeah, John Lombardo. Okay, so take it away, Fred. And you guys can stand right there. It's a perfect spot. You got the corner.
Apologies, my sign broke in the move to our new office, so I'm going to use the wall if that's all right with everybody. And if everyone's okay, I'd like to dim the lights just so people can see a little bit better. So just, if this is all right with everybody.
We turn that one off too, and it's still light outside.
So as Mark mentioned, we're back to give you guys an update on the proposed flagship car wash across the street at 7351 Lancaster Pike and 646 Yorkwood Road. The very former Exxon station and garden center. The idea is we're moving forward with a application for paddock, and then later in the summer, the goal would be to come back, give you guys an update, and then go and move forward with an application to the Board of Adjustment and the draft on signage. But since you guys have elections and the summer recess, fundraising for the fireworks, as we heard. We wanted to come and talk to you now, although we don't have the RPAC application in, to give you guys an update on where things stand. So very quickly, as Mark mentioned, you're here before, but I just wanted to give you guys reorient everyone with the site. So again, it's flagship car wash. Here's kind of a aerial view from south above from Northland Road. Here's kind of 41 north. Here's from the northeast, so further down you can kind of see the signage there. And then here's it from Northland. So I'm gonna turn it over briefly to Jose. He's from DL Companies, he's an engineer on this project. Give you guys a bit of an update on where things stand and then kind of what the plan is in terms of RPAC, why we're there, and what we're looking to do. So, okay, I will give it to you and let you, wait, why you should be able to get to the protected resource. Yes, so there's also a pointer towards the top, you should be able to. Yeah.
Oh, right. It makes it a little easier to point to where I'm from. Okay. So since last time we were here, there hasn't been much in terms of site changes. There've been some adjustments over the past 3 or 4 months, mainly from having submitted exploratory plans to Newcastle County. We received a round of comments from the planners and the engineers, and we've been updating the site to comply with those comments. At the same time, we've been working with DelDOT, traffic planning and design, our traffic engineers. They've had multiple meetings with DelDOT. They submitted preliminary entrance plans, and so part of the adjustments over the past few months has been to the access points. They've gotten a little bit wider, so the one along Lancaster Pike, that's a little bit wider than what we had originally, but that is a DelDOT requirement, and we're complying with that. And here along Yorkland, there were some discussions concerning turn movements into the site, left turns into this other use up here. And so there were some items that we coordinated with DelDOT, came to an understanding, and that will be reflected in the next set of entrance plans that are submitted to DelDOT. So just at a high level, those are probably the two biggest agencies that have provided input for review comments. And so we look to address the plans and mission it back. In terms of schedule, exploratory plans, we're looking to get them back in the next couple of weeks. And the comments really weren't that extensive. There are a lot of them are planning comments that we vetted out over the past few months. And then on the DelDOT side, the PTV team will be submitting interest plans shortly thereafter. And just to make sure, we want to ensure that our designs are coordinated, they're aligned, that what we show on our plans, they show on their plans, and so it's part of the evolution of the project as we revise the site per Newcastle County comments. We do the same thing with the DelDOT side, and just ensure that we're all coordinated with what we're showing on the plans. So that is at the Newcastle County and DelDOT side.
Jose, if I could jump in real
Yes.
quick, if you wouldn't mind walking through, I know they're a little bit darker in green to highlight, but one of the things that we got back when we came previously to this group was the importance, obviously, of buffering and landscaping, and that was some feedback that we received and took seriously. So, Jose, if you could mention some of the stuff that's been added on that comment specifically.
Sure. So as you can see, this landscape plan, there's a lot of green here, and that's because we are increasing the amount of pervious on the site relative to what's out there right now. And what we heard last time was to maximize the plantings where we can. And so one of the things that we've done is we've added some shrubbery along this property line here with this shopping center. You'll see there's in green, there's a line of shrubbery. Also here to the northeast, we added some more landscaping, mainly shrubbery, because it's a limited space, about 4 to 5 feet wide, so it really unfortunately can't handle a tree. It's too small of a size, or width. So we're going to go in with some shrubbery. That's in addition to what the code requires. It will definitely provide some value to the project. One other update that we've made on this plan on this plan here is for stormwater management. I mentioned that we're increasing the amount of impervious. Um, said another way is we're decreasing impervious by about 13% from what's out there right now. So the nursery, the parking, the gravel areas, we're decreasing it by 13%. Unfortunately, we can't reach 15%, which would be the best case scenario. That's considered stormwater. You've lessened your amount of impervious on your site by 15%. That is a form of stormwater. So because we fall a few percentage points short, we'll be proposing a small bioretention basin. And we went with the bioretention basin because it's a great way of providing water quality. There's no water quality right now treatment for the existing use. It just flows into the drainage system, to drainage ditches, and there's no control of runoff. There's no water quality associated with it. So with this project, we will be collecting some amount of runoff, treating it in a bioretention. We look to use a liner so that we're not providing, we're not forcing too much infiltration into the ground. We're providing infiltration naturally through the increase in green space. And so we'll have this stormwater management bioretention. It'll treat the water and then it'll connect into the proposed storm drain conveyance system that we'll have as part of this project. That'll be reflected on the exploratory plans. It's not shown here, but this will have a system of storm drain inlets and manholes so that we capture the runoff, we handle it appropriately so that it's not being conveyed off-site, uncontrolled, causing erosion. It will all be in a review system, and that's going to get reviewed and approved by Newcastle County at various stages during the project. As I mentioned, the landscape plan along Yorkland, we've planted at the extent that we were able to, working with DelDOT. We're still in the process of agreeing and reaching an understanding ultimately what's going to be allowed here in terms of permanent easements and so forth. So if we're able to work it out with DelDOT where we can get some design deviations for some easements, we're going to enhance and keep this landscape here. It's all a conversation with DelDOT to see what they'll accept and what they won't accept there. And just in terms of just the general layout, it's very similar to what we presented before. We have employee parking spaces up here along Yorkland, a couple spaces over here, which is maybe ADA's parking spaces, handicap spaces, a few more employee parking spaces along Lancaster Pike here, and then along the park here, those are our vacuum spaces. So those remain in the same place, same quantity of vacuum spaces, no change there.
So Jay, to refresh everyone's memory, the circulation into the building, wet wash, dry belts,
Yes.
and the vacuums.
Yes, I mentioned the main components of the parking. So what is the customer experience as you come into the site? So if you're coming in off of Yorkland, you'll make a right. Sorry, Lancaster. If you off of Lancaster, you make a right, and there are 3 pay stations here. And at these pay stations, you choose the level of wash that you want for your vehicle. So you can choose to just go through the wet tunnel, which is this longer portion of the building here, that's your conventional wet wash that you go through in your car and exit the other side. But what's unique to this project is we also have two other tunnels, and these are dry tunnels. And that's if you choose to purchase the additional cleaning, wiping down, vacuuming of your vehicle inside. And so you make that choice over here at the pay stations. You go through the wet tunnel. Then if you chose the dry tunnel option, you would circulate around the building. There's two lanes here for queuing to enter one of the two dry tunnel bays. You would go into the building, you would get out of your car, an employee will usher the car into the belts, and you would go to a waiting room and wait until the employees do whatever you chose for them to do or paid for. And then at the once the cleaning is completed, you enter your car and you leave the site. That's if you choose the full service interior cleaning. If you chose just the typical wet tunnel wet wash, well, as you leave the building, you can leave the site. You can choose to leave the site and not do anything else, or you can go to one of the vacuum booths here or vacuum spots, and those have the vacuums. You can go in there and clean out your car rather than pay the extra service for spotless employees to do that. So that's the circulation. It's a unique system in that you decide what you want based on what you want to pay for it, and then you exit the site as you deem necessary.
So I think it makes sense, Jose, to go on to Rappatic and the protected resources probably next.
All right. So in terms of Rappatic, there's two main items that we'll be including in our application. One is there's a small wetland area. It's about 800 square feet. It's located where the proposed vacuum spaces are to be, and we've filed permits with the Army Corps engineers and also with the state. So that's actively going through the process. I believe the other day we received a letter from the Army Corps engineers with a few comments from the permit submission that we're going to address. But we understand that we have to go through the proper process of obtaining the necessary approvals to infill this wetland, which we had delineated. We had our wetland professional go out there and walk it, observe it, test it, and that's all part of the wetland permit that's been submitted. And that's going to be part of the Rappatic environmental impact assessment and going before Rappatic and providing any backup they need concerning this wetland here, which fortunately it's a small area, and we've started the permitting for that. The other item is that this property is entirely within the Hockessin formation, as are all the properties around it and everywhere. So this entire area is 100% within that Hockessin formation. And one of the restrictions is that you have to permit for any disturbance within that Hockessin formation, water resource protection area. And as I mentioned previously, we're enhancing the condition from what it is right now by providing additional green space, and we're mindful of the need to provide water quality, and we're doing that through fire retention, through additional landscaping and green space. And we're also going to minimize the amount of infiltration. And that's important in that this region is known for having karst type features. And one of the items that could contribute to sinkholes and potential issues is having concentrated areas of infiltration, such as an infiltration basin. Generally, they're great. They're great for water quality. They're great for water to control the quantity of runoff from a site, but they can concentrate infiltration in a certain area that could potentially lead to sinkholes. And so one of the methods that geotechnical engineers advise when we can is instead of using an infiltration stormwater basin, use something else that'll provide you water quality, and that's why we chose the fire retention basin. That makes a lot more sense, and with just the amount of green space that we're adding, that'll provide natural areas for water to infiltrate into the soil and naturally replenish the aquifer. So those are the two main natural resource features that we're going to go before paddock. That'll be part of the application, part of the environmental impact assessment.
Just to continue on there, as Jose mentioned, obviously we have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers, to the state level, but also the county themselves looks at this, at the request to infill this small wetland area and the disturbance within the Hockessin formation. And all of them have to be okay with the proposed plan design and what's going on. So we're in the process of this. But before we move forward, we wanted to, obviously when we came in, we were even more preliminary. There was some questions environmentally. And like I said, before you guys broke for the summer, we wanted to kind of come back, give you guys an update, and let you know that we're focused in on this as a first step before we even get to Board of Adjustment and talk about variances or anything else, as something that obviously we prioritize and we're focused on. See if you guys had any questions or, let you know the timelines, and then we can, obviously, our plan would be to come back in September at your guys' meeting at that point and provide an update on where we are, and then next steps for the Hockessin DRAC and Board of Adjustment, which would be the two remaining items for this site. So there's one more slide, which is kind of a technical version of this, which just kind of puts all of the plant stuff together, and then another colorized picture. So I wasn't sure if anyone had questions for Jose. Obviously, we have Alex from TPD and then John here from Spotless. So we wanted to have the whole team here, even though it's really Jose's show. But and obviously, Councilwoman Kilpatrick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. With the changes that you're making, I know that you had a decent amount of Board of Adjustment applications that were gonna have to go in. Does this reduce the amount of variances that you would have to get?
So the changes have reduced some of the requests in terms of the amount. We've been able to kind of, where we can, minimize what we're asking for. So instead of asking for, let's say, 10, we're asking for 5 or something along those lines. I would have to check with Jose on if we eliminated the number, but I believe to the extent possible, again, with feedback from this previous meeting, we did everything we could to try to minimize any sort of impact, plan as much as we can, and try to reduce, again, the overall impact of this unique site, because some of it is just, it's close to other things and it's got some unique corners. So some of it is just the layout. DelDOT didn't leave us a whole lot of room.
But and I think the having 3 frontages, that's also quite unique, because not only Yorkland and Lancaster Pike, but also this little area here that's considered part of I guess some type of DelDOT park here. So they've said yes, that's a front. So you have front setbacks and front pavement setbacks on 3 sides.
So you have 3 front setbacks as opposed to front, back, and 2 sides,
That's correct.
which makes a difference in how far back you have to place your equipment, building, et cetera.
That's correct.
Yeah. Which increases, obviously, if it was just Yorkland or just Lancaster, the amount of variance, we could orient the site better and shrink the amount of variances, but having it on 3 sides and the side setback just being kind of over where the dumpster is, it drastically impacts, you can only go so many places. And that would be true whether it was a car wash or something else, it's just a tight site.
Great. Thank you.
I have 2 quick questions. One, are you proposing that the exit from Rita's there goes right into the turn lane into the car wash? So cars are gonna have to zigzag out of
So
Rita's and into the
there
car
is
wash?
gonna be, yeah, so Delta's request for me to restrike this, but there is going to be some mixing. I mean, you have that condition there, today. But Delta has asked us to widen this out and more formalize this, more formalize the entrance.
And you're thinking, I think you said 300, 400 cars a day last time you were here?
500.
500 zigzagging?
I got it. Don't speak out of turn. That's why I brought this, to make sure, because I figured this would come out. So on a, now, on an average weekday, actually it's about 800 trips a day. So that would be about 400
In and 400 out.
about 400 in, 400 out over the span of a 24-hour period. On during the peak periods, which is for a facility like this, the PM peak and a Saturday midday. For a Saturday midday, we are looking at for the PM peak about 88 trips, which is about 44 cars, and Saturday potentially about 188. Now,
A day.
No. During a midday peak hour. Now,
Which correlates with Rita's midsummer,
which correlates
Sunday,
with Saturday,
peak,
it's,
just
well, when we do, I'm trying not to get techie, there actually is not a whole lot of, I want to make this really simple. We use a standard manual for different land uses that DelDOT requires us to use for different types of land uses. For automated car washes, there aren't a lot of data sets. So, based on, for John, we've looked at other facilities that he's built in the Mid-Atlantic. Based on what we've counted and what we observe as far as queues, during summer peak hour, we feel, and I feel, again, looking at the data, I feel that what the IT trip generation manual is high, but it's what we're using. So we feel that we're giving a conservative estimate as far as what we feel this site would be based again on data collection on other sites, and also we're not allowed to take any credit for like a connected use, what we would call it like a pass-by trip. Someone goes to Rita's and then they go and get a car wash. Well, that's the same. It's not another car on the road. It's the same car. Kind of going, say, to Rita's to the car wash, and then you hit the Wawa on the way home, and you're out doing your thing. But at the moment, we're not allowed to take any credit for that. So where we feel that there's that's a conservative estimate for that.
My other question is about the bioretention pond. So, yes, it's very small. What percentage of runoff is going to be collected? And I believe the site drains towards the southwest, if I remember. What percentage is going to be collected into that bioretention, and what percentage is going to have unfiltered flow into the creek?
So, in terms of percentage, the amount of runoff that would enter the bioretention would be this section of the site, which maybe a fifth of the site. And that's twofold. One is per the county stormwater regs, we only have to treat a certain amount to be in compliance. And so we're meeting that amount plus a bit more. So, and that bar retention just makes the most sense in this area because it's outside it's the most easily collected area so that we can ensure that we get runoff that supports that bar retention throughout drought seasons.
So you're filtering the non-used area
No,
and not filtering the
That is-
places where the cars will be idling and leaving oil and all that stuff?
no,
Because it looks like the top is just parking for employees, maybe?
yes, this is employee parking. Here's an ADA space and then some additional employee parking spaces.
So the rest of it will be unfiltered,
Yes,
running into the creeks?
yes.
Into the creek or through the sewers.
There's a drainage channel here that's from runoff from the roads and the adjacent properties, and that's considered a stream. Our wetland professional delineated it as a stream. So we're mindful that that's one of the reasons why we're introducing a system of stormwater management pipes so that we don't have the current condition of uncontrolled runoff going into this drainage stream here. We're mindfully collecting it in inlets, manhole structures, and that all will connect into a closed pipe system that's located along Lancaster Pike. That'll be part of the Delta.
Flows where? Where does that pipe outflow? Under Lancaster Pike?
Yeah, I know that it flows here along Lancaster. I'm not certain if it continues down here or along Lancaster. We have surveyed. I can get that answer.
Is the car wash water not treated?
Yes, now the car wash water is separate from storm
Right.
runoff
Yeah,
and
you're talking about storm.
yes, not about rainfall, actual rain, what happens to that runoff. If you get the car wash water, there's a reclaim system, a 3-tank reclaim system that we're proposing as part of this project. It recycles the water, a certain amount is reused back to perform some other wash operations within the building, but all of that ultimately connects into the sanitary sewer. That
Two
runoff.
separate systems.
Yes, that's sanitary flow from the car wash operations, from that water from washing cars, that all eventually connects into the sanitary sewer system.
Alex, before we take another question, do you know how many entrances are currently on the Exxon site?
I believe there are two there right now. So
There's one technically adjacent
East.
all the way to the far right by.
yes,
So in theory, if the Exxon was operating, you would essentially basically make a U-turn from the dry cleaner right into Exxon and then have the one we're proposing. So we're
Correct.
going from 2 to 1, right?
we are removing an access point from
From Lancaster.
from Lancaster Pike. Yes.
And I believe on your plan as well, right?
Yes.
So we're going from 4 access points down to
To
2 access points.
Right.
Sorry. I know there were some questions over here.
Could you provide MSDS sheets for the products that you use in the car wash?
John, I believe you guys have the MSD.
Yeah, we have that.
If we get your information, we are happy to email that to you afterwards.
If you could send it to Mark Blake.
Absolutely. Mark, we'll get that to you.
Do like a focus
Honestly, can you
group.
make sure that we get that out to everybody?
We use a family of detergents and lots of the Pennsylvania and other wastewater treatment plants. Ask the same kind of questions, so yeah, we can easily find out.
Thank you, had your hand up early, sir.
Earlier, you indicated that the stormwater was treated. What is the treatment for stormwater?
So in Newcastle County, if you decrease impervious, that is a form of stormwater management, creating additional green space. And as I mentioned, the existing site right now is about 90% impervious. And so we're decreasing the amount of impervious by 13%. So that 13% that we're decreasing impervious, we get credit as meeting the regulations in terms of stormwater management. We have to meet the remaining percentage to get to the 15% that we have to treat as part of a development project.
I think
So
you
there's
might
no
have- in the-
process.
In the
You just-
bioretention pond, what goes on there? Because I think you mentioned a liner and something else. Could you
Right,
elaborate on that?
and so that's where the bioretention comes into play, because we have a delta of 2% or 3%. That's where the bioretention provides that water quality treatment via media, soil media and gravel. It'll perk through the facility into an under drain system, and then the water, once it's treated and it's gone through the system, will outfall and be connected
So
to the soil.
it's essentially a filter then.
Yes, so that's what that is. It's like a Brita filter.
But only for that small area.
Well, for that small area, because the rest of the site, like I said, we're decreasing impervious. That's a really tough to do sometimes on the site, and we are able to do that.
Is the filter something you add, or is that, you're talking about the dirt is filtered?
Well, it's a special media, a special mix of media, and so
How deep is that?
it can be, I think we're proposing about 2 feet, but it could go as deep as 4 feet.
Same way as septic system work.
If I may, so I wanted to ask, what are you infilling or planning to infill the current park with? And are there gonna be any mitigation for trash from the vacuum sites? Like any nets up, anything like that, to prevent trash from blowing into the park or infill area or whatever?
There's no infill into the park. Park is a separate DelDOT parcel that is not implicated in this site at all.
So here's the property line. We're not crossing that property line and disturbing onto the park.
So you're infilling that area adjacent to that park?
That's correct.
Okay, and my second question, so is there gonna be any sort of trash mitigation, any like netting or anything to prevent refuse, garbage from just blowing into our park?
So there will be a small retaining wall. So instead of there being like a baseball netting like the Phillies, there will be something that we thought was more commensurate with the area and kind of fits, that both serves as, with the difference in height, it makes sense, and then also it will serve as a natural barrier. We don't anticipate there to be, the end of a movie and a bunch of popcorn buckets on the ground, but to the extent that there is something, that retaining wall, and Jose, you can obviously speak more on that. We think that will naturally backstop where the vacuum spaces will be and serve as a natural barrier for anything that would be on the ground from passing from one site to the other.
How tall is the wall?
It's about 3 feet tall right now.
I have two questions. One is, originally you said something about a liner in if there's a liner in the retention basin, what would that be made of? And wouldn't that limit the water's ability to permeate the soil underneath?
Yes, so excellent question. So it's an impermeable liner, thick, like if you've ever seen a fish pond at your house, it's a thick piece of rubber. So that's the very, very bottom of this bioretention basin. Above that will be stone, will be this blend of soil mix, 2 to 4 feet. So the way that this bioretention basin works is runoff will enter from the very top, and that water will slowly perk through the top layer, maybe some mulch, then it perks through the soil media, then it will perk into the stone, and in that stone, there's going to be a pipe. And the reason we have a pipe there is with the liner, water won't be able to go anywhere beyond that point, and that's purposely done because we don't want to concentrate and infiltrate runoff because of the nature of the carbonate and karst topology in this area. Even though it's a small basin, you just never know. That's the geotechs have been advising consultants for many, many years that one of the possible reasons for sinkholes is sourced or direct infiltration from stormwater facilities. So this is a approvable technique. It's allowed by the Delaware BMP manual. And in this case, we want to stop water from going beyond a certain point, and that's why that impermeable liner is proposed.
My second question is, I'm sure you've talked about how much, what the water usage is for per car. I know it depends on what treatment the car driver has selected, and what percentage of that water, you talked about it being handled in two different ways. Could you clarify that a little bit about how much water goes directly back into the sanitary sewer and what part of it is going to be recycled?
Correct me if I'm wrong. So, nominally, 40% of wash water is reclaimed water. It's just gonna, wash the underside of the vehicle, especially when you first enter the vehicle. By the time we get to the end of the wash, we're using reverse osmosis, clean, spotless free water. And so about 40% of the wash water is reclaimed. In terms of total volume, I think we're projecting, we're limited to 3,000 gallons a day or 9 gallons per minute
That's right.
of outflow in the sanitary sewer. So we're going to have to put in a holding tank to meet the Department of Public Works, the DPW, right? Criteria. So,
Thank you.
Okay, their gallons per day is dictated by the county. They will give them, which obviously they have at this point, the capacity per day that they are allowed to put through the sewer system.
Thanks, Janet.
another question.
Yeah, the impervious, you're saying that you have less impervious, 13%. Richardson's has a lot of gravel. Are you considering that gravel impervious at
Yes.
Richardson's? Okay, so,
And the same where the Exxon is, where they pulled the tanks out, they're considering that impervious,
Yes,
even though it's been open.
If it's been walked over, driven over, that's been compacted.
Yeah.
It
And these are-
basically functions as impervious.
All of this is county code driven definitional, so
Right.
code, the BL team is just following what is in the UDC. You have another question?
Have you done an assessment on the amount of noise emitted from the vacuums and the whole car wash facility?
John, I believe you've done this before.
We do sound modeling, and typically, we have technology to mitigate any noise that goes off the property, but we expect everything to be less than roadside traffic. So,
That's also under county standard.
John, you can probably answer. Is the conversation with DelDOT just between the business and DelDOT, or does the public have any input to, that intersection is an absolute nightmare already. And it's like a festival there all the time. It just seems undoable to make it workable. If DelDOT took a drive over there on a Saturday afternoon and tried to go to Harvest Market, pull out, try to turn right, go straight, go to Wawa, it's just like so many people to look out for already. It just feels like a really awkward fit for that corner. You've done a lot of work, and I appreciate it. You're working in a tough spot. It's a remediated brownfield on the Hockesville aquifer with a little wetland and blah, 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 but just the traffic, it just seems like a bad location for your car wash. That's all.
is there a public meeting? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah,
Is
whether
there
we
a
have
public
any-
meeting for DelDOT?
DelDOT looks at it, makes a decision, they work out a plan. Is that how that goes?
Yes, and when they're building anything in this county,
Mhm.
there's federal laws, there's state laws, and there's the local law, and they all talk and have to have letters, in writing saying, yes, we approve of this, or I guess it's a letter of no
Objection.
A letter of no
objection,
objection,
right.
but after quite a bit of coordination of, for tough sites like this, as Fred said, we've gone from 4 conflict points down to 2. Given the geometry of the site, we've tried to, there's a balance of, you don't want this too close to here, but you also don't want it any closer to the signalized intersection. Same thing, here, I can only get this so close to to their driveway, and you don't want it any closer. We've tried, whether it's this use or any other use that would go in there, we've tried to push everything as far away from the signalized intersection. Well aware of, this is a free-for-all. Look at the size of that opening. That's really kind of uncontrolled access. We tried to line this driveway up with the driveway across the street. It's not shown in this particular rendering, but one of the big coordination points that we've had with DelDOT, just from a process standpoint, we submitted preliminary plans, which is, I would say, like a 30% plan, like a very engineered concept. So here's what we want to do. And they reviewed it and came back. There were some minor adjustments here, but this was really the big topic of conversation, was up here on Yorkland Road. So we are going to do a series of some striping adjustments off the screen to try to make the left turn lane in, as well as the access to these driveways more clear, as much as possible, clearly as much as possible. Right, Jose owes me some more surveys so that we can finish this. Just again, from a process standpoint, I'm not gonna submit back in DelDOT until his site plan is finished, because I use his stormwater report for what we give to DelDOT. And I need to make sure that what I'm showing on my plans exactly mirrors what the county sees, because they do talk. There is that cross coordination.
To put a point on that, didn't your initial conversation start with essentially centering the Lancaster Pike entrance, and DelDOT basically told you to pound sand?
Yes.
So some of this is, TBD can have a great engineered design, and if DelDOT wants something, DelDOT is ultimately
It's their road.
Right.
It's their road. And to the extent that they aren't proposing something that I just grossly object to, then wouldn't put my PE seal on it. And I've done that before. There's definitely back and forth, but it's their road. And again, we've been trying to balance the numerous competing needs that as in this built established area. Certainly removing, anytime we can remove conflict points and driveways, that is a good thing, because it's just that much less places for people to stick their nose out.
And DelDOT's main concern is peak.
Is peak hour.
Peak hours.
Is peak hour.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's peak hours.
Doesn't look like it there, but they're gonna keep 2 lanes open going through. It looks like they have the turn lane left and then a straight lane, and then the turn in. You're gonna keep 2 lanes on Lancaster Pike open, they're straight.
We're not.
We're only seeing the one there, and then you're seeing the turn arrow.
It's faded.
Okay.
It should be 2.
Okay.
That's probably part of the coloring and part of, that's on me, not on TBD, I apologize.
And where that center is, eventually opens up into a lane.
Correct.
Just past those.
Right, no, we're not closed.
No, we're not.
Not closing any.
Yeah.
No, there's no capacity.
DelDOT didn't wanna limit that.
No.
I didn't think they would, but it just looked.
No.
Sorry, I know this gentleman's been raising his hand for a little while.
As a cyclist, Yorkland Road gets a lot of bicycle traffic. Is there gonna be a cycling lane on there?
We will be required along our frontage. We will provide a bike lane across our frontage.
And a sidewalk.
As well as
As well as sidewalk.
Because,
And I bike on
'cause
Yorkland Road too.
just where you get up to
Yep.
where you're putting in the turn lanes, right?
Along our
Right
frontage.
now, there's just 2 lanes and it's going to 3, and there's a a wide shoulder and the,
Yeah.
the
I
diagram.
understand.
So in addition to
Picture.
widening it, we're making sure the bicycles are taken, because like you said, it's a free-for-all, especially for people on two wheels.
Along
So-
our frontage, we will have bike lanes.
Because I'm, you know, the other side of the road too, at the other entrance there, is where it looks like there is no room for a cycling bicyclist lane. So that would add to the confusion of the intersection and safety. You know, up, on the Yorkland Road entrance on the opposite side of the street.
So again, this rendering does not represent what we've been talking about we are required to accommodate pedestrians and bicycles on our frontage.
Okay,
So there will be.
so I'm sure
pedestrian-
they're gonna require it on
We
the other
already-
side of the street also.
No, we are only on our frontage.
Well, I mean, there, DelDOT would ensure that the widening wouldn't take, it would leave enough room for a cycle lane
Right,
on your
on
side.
my side.
I would assume DelDOT will make sure there's room for a cycle lane on the other side.
Only if it's improved.
Not
If someone
associated-
develops
Not
it,
associated with this project.
right, if someone
DelDOT
develops
in
it,
itself gets federal money to do these kinds of things. So as the federal money comes in, as they apply for it, as they receive it, that's like, if you go down Valley Road, you'll see the curb by the, water intake, by the grates. Those things come basically from the feds down to the state, and then they have to use that money in the way that the state or the federal government is telling them to use it. So and they have bicycle programs, but it wouldn't hurt for anybody to talk to, like if this project is going to go forward, it wouldn't hurt for people to talk to DelDOT and say, okay, can we mimic this on the other side of the road?
Right, well, my concern is, right, the project is making 3 lanes out of 2 lanes now. So I would think that any change to the road format,
We are
Should-
changing anything on this, on the opposite side. We are improving the frontage and the access on our side and on our frontage. But we have no
They
control
can't-
or bearing on properties across the street.
I,
So if DelDOT comes through with a capital project at some point to improve Yorkland Road, this piece of it is already accomplished. But it would be up to DelDOT, or if this gets redeveloped, like say this closes and someone else wants to do something else. The exact same process would have to go for them as it is for us.
I understand that. I don't think you're quite capturing what I'm trying to say, is right now Yorkland Road has 2 lanes. This project puts 3 lanes in there, with the center
It's a
lane
turn
being a turn lane.
Yeah.
Right, so it eats up the road on both sides.
well,
They're
If
sacrificing
I'm not
property.
mistaken, they're taking the
Okay.
shoulder
It comes
on
from
the
Yeah,
other
it
side.
comes from
So
our
you're
property.
shifting the whole property.
Yeah.
They're not moving the road.
Okay,
I
All right.
believe up by where the dog store, the Concord Pet is,
yeah.
the shoulder will get smaller. Because
It'll
the
accommodate that
turn,
lane.
they're gonna put a turn lane where the lane headed towards Wawa is. And then the main drive lane will be where the shoulder is, and the shoulder will be
There's gonna
very
be a
thin.
little, yes, there's gonna be.
So
a-
it is taking away the bicycle
There's gonna be a
lane.
little shift
So-
within the existing carpet.
It's a wide shoulder, so I'm okay giving up, 4 feet of that shoulder
And so
there.
as part of that, we do
And
also look at, I'm sure you've driven around, there's a lot of places where there's enough room to do a right turn lane and a bike lane, and sometimes the bike lane shares the right turn lane.
yes,
But the important thing is to have the bike lane, I'm a cyclist too, so I get it, is to have that space delineated. Like, this is a space, this is a place for me to be. And-
yeah.
And in some places it's shared. I don't know.
So the striping at this area will be changed so that
Yes.
the bike lane is,
Yes,
so you show like a right turn, bike lane,
bike
3
lane,
lanes.
it will be all
Okay.
MUTCD compliant striping, striping and for that. I'm sorry, just this rendering doesn't quite capture exactly where we're at the moment with DelDOT.
and we would have more detailed and updated stuff when we came back in September. that focus more in on that. As Alex said, they haven't submitted an updated plan, so we haven't drilled down on that.
All right, let's get one more question and then we're gonna move on.
I'm gonna do this.
Okay, so, does Spotless have any demographic data that shows what percentage of customers in a given day would be coming from outside of the area versus are already in the area?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, we're picking these locations, the population around here.
Mhm.
So if you have a particular interest or concern that people coming in from, Avondale, I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest.
But they come anyway. I mean, the traffic here goes from state to state, so I'm gonna equate this to a Wawa, or when they put a gas station in some places where the traffic that normally comes through is traffic that's already on that road, and they make a stop.
It's pass by traffic.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, Janet. Again, numerically, I don't have any data
Right,
to make it.
right. I mean,
So we're assuming there is none.
right, and I, since this came up, every time I'm down on Route 4, where the new car wash is down there, I look at the number of cars and kind of in my head, like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, and how many cars are in this line, or, people are on their way home from work or to work, and kind of calculate what type of line you're going to see at a car wash. But that's, on the way to the mall, or on the way over to Stanton or something, so again, I'm not coming from up here necessarily to go down there to get my car washed. You're gonna pick something that's on your
Convenience.
normal.
I think they call that a magnet. It's not a Home Depot, it's not this 5-star restaurant that everybody is trying to get reservations to. I mean, when Home Depot opens up, they know where they're drawing from. This is all, like you said, it's going back and forth, and you probably picked it because there's a lot of back and forth traffic.
Intercept the traffic.
Yeah. Well, it's pass by trip. Yeah.
Use.
Yeah. It's not new trips. It's not new trips.
Mark, I know we're going long. If anyone else, we'll send, obviously, the information about the detergents to you. If anyone else has any questions, you want to send them to us, we can make sure we get them over.
Yeah, email them in, we'll get them out, and we'll get the MSDSs and send them out to everybody.
I just wondered, there's another car wash up the road, about a block. Is there any reason why you picked one area to put a car wash in that already has one?
Well, we developed
Shellfish.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but I just want a quick survey, because I hate that car wash for every good reason I don't know. How many people use that car wash? One.
And I don't like it.
Every time I go, well, I've only gone through it 3 times, and every time
Well,
it's
they changed the things that, it's like being hit with windshield wipers.
I just thought that was interesting. It's a service to the gas station. You get like $1 or $2 off or something if you buy so much gas, and you get.
Well, they charge 10 cents
tongue
more a
wash.
gallon.
Looks like you got a
If
customer.
you don't
Anyway.
get a car wash.
I don't consider that a car wash. That one, but- Okay. Any other last question from someone?
I had a quick question. The entrances, are they gonna be closed off at a certain time in the evening so people can't drive into the site? Like the hours of operation, are the vacuums gonna run 24 hours?
They don't run 24-hour. When the store closes at 8, we operate normally 8 to 8. In the wintertime, it'll be like 8 to 6.
Right.
So after it gets turned off, nobody can vacuum or anything after hours.
Do you block your driveway so people don't drive in there?
Normally, as a policy, we wouldn't do that. I mean, if we need to agree to that.
No, I understand, I just wondered, for people vacuuming at 10 o'clock.
No one's vacuuming after 8 o'clock.
Got it.
All the power is off.
Got it.
So your last, we'll sneak in.
Regarding the greeneries here, is there any guarantee that that will be here in
So
5
we're-
to 8 years from?
I mean, we're gonna show it on the landscape plan, so it would be subject to the same requirement of any other landscape on a plan. And I don't know that Newcastle County comes out and counts every single bush, but you are
Yes, you
required
do.
to.
They do.
Yes, they do. They count them when you install them, and they count them 3 years later to make sure they're still there.
He said 8, that's why I said,
And just an aside, Frederick, Larry did this, we call it the GHADA
Mhm.
restrictions. We can put that on a deed restriction that GHADA will hold for anything that they promise that will be on there that says they have to maintain that landscape. We have that on other ones, the Walgreens down on Limestone and Valley has several GHADA restrictions about lights going off after the stores are closed. There's all sorts of those. We have them up and down this corridor and anywhere around. And they're all for that quality of life stuff, because you don't need to have a store lit up 24/7 when they're not open 24/7.
We're a nationwide company. This is gonna be a corporate-run store. It's not gonna be franchised off to an independent. So, we
So
have.
the lights stay on all night long, all the parking lot lights, LED lights?
Everything will come off. If the police department wants one light on or two lights on, we'll do whatever the police department wants.
You don't keep it all lit up all night?
There's no reason to.
Right, other than advertising.
Just as an aside, I just remember these guys from DSM actually did the Walgreens, and one of the things that GHADA, as a collective whole, brought to them was about the rooftop. They wanted a parapet roof, which is basically the false front, and we said, could you put it more of an angle so it looks more colonial? And while you're at it, could you stuff the HVAC so they're underneath that as well? When Walgreens was done, between the leads lighting, which wasn't even in county code then, all of the items we suggested, they save around, I think it was between 60 and 70,000 a year in electrical costs. The HVACs run cooler, the lighting expenses are less, the interior store lighting was a lot less than what they normally would have. So they actually came back and they made that a standard at Walgreens corporate out of Chicago. And that was the first store that they did that with. So there's some good stuff that comes out of this community collaboration, and it helps them as well, whoever goes in there with something. So we have no issues about asking for them. Fred's he's a partner at the firm, is managing, I guess, what is he, founding partner?
yeah, founding, he's,
He helped do that on projects, and we'll ask for that.
right. And that was the, like we talked about before, the idea is, you guys mentioned it, and we're happy to do it. So, as I said, we won't keep you, I know we've gone longer than I anticipated, but if there's any additional questions or feedback, as we send stuff, Mark, please send it over, and we're happy to respond and get back on anything folks have. So I think I will give you guys the lights back.
Wake up.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Sorry.
Sorry, move your backpack. Yep, sorry about that.
Seeing how I think you're only a person here, quick update on happenings at the county.
Very quick, 2 things. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, in the fire company, the county executive will be here to talk about his budget and any other questions that you would like to ask him. The managers of every department will be here also, so it doesn't have to stick just to the budget. And the next Tuesday, council will vote on that budget.
We are the last stop in
We are
the
the
town hall
last one.
series, right,
Yes.
county executive, so
Yes.
to give you an idea, they were gonna do it at the library, but they quickly outgrew the library based on proposed attendance, so.
Yeah, the attendance has been all over the place from 5 to 50, 60, but better to have more space than not enough.
Always gonna need to be
Okay.
Janet,
what
time?
6.
Get one to your next meeting.
So when we did it in 2018, we did a fire call and it was 200 people.
All right, I'm gonna rattle through the land use report so we can get to the elections and get everybody home before it's dark. McDonald's, we still don't hear anything from them. Again, for those that don't remember, the landowner approached them, so the people that are the proposed owners or franchisees of the McDonald's really are not coming forward, and the landowner is not doing it either, so I don't think we're gonna see anything other than the normal county process where they just continue on and do what they have to do. So keep an eye on the county reports for agendas for the meetings coming up, so you can get your public comment in for any of the meetings that they will have to go through. At this point, I've given up trying to get them to respond, they just don't. The PNC branch, of course, we know that's closed. We know our friends at Harvest Market are negotiating to move into that space, and that would be nice, because then they'll have the whole building, and it'd be the super Harvest Market, I guess. We're happy to hear that and see that happening, and wish you well on those negotiations. Wells Fargo Bank, another bank that's actually doing a little expansion. Chase bought them, of course, and they have filed a preliminary. The plans look pretty esoteric, a lot more landscaping going in, and a basic refresh of the building. They will go before DRAC for the signage. As we know, we don't like pylon signs or signs up on tall posts. So there will be ground-based signs or monuments, which are better for traffic and for just the overall feel of the community. But they'll have a bank with a one drive-through ATM teller lane and walk-in banking, parking lot and landscaping completely redesigned and reconfigured. So we won't be seeing a lot of tractor trailers parking there for too much longer once they get through the process. HeartNet has sold that building at 7301 Lancaster. You see the sign out there saying coming soon. And I couldn't remember quite what it said the other day when I went by it, but I'm not sure if they're looking to put in a group of businesses or something, but they're sort of advertising for something to go in that building at this point. They own the rest of that property that was adjacent to what we just saw, where the dry cleaner is, and US Mail and all that. So I still wonder why they didn't bundle them all together, other than I guess they're trying to piecemeal it, which is another way to get around a major redevelopment. But we'll wait to see what that comes up. I think at some point those buildings will also be for redevelopment. NBF master plan, not much going on. I know the group out in Northland is raising money to mount a legal challenge. I'm trying to remember, it's not on GoFundMe, it's on something different.
It's called Donor Box.
Donor Box.
Reach
okay.
out to us if you.
There's a banner hanging out in front of the post office if you want to learn more. I'm still going to, once 4th of July gets done, I'm going to write some emails to the Secretary of DENREC and basically ask them why they haven't put in the parking, and why they haven't connected the bridges, and why they didn't do a 10th or even 1% of what they promised when they got the park donated to them. And I don't think it's a bad thing that they bought more land, but I think it's a bit disingenuous when they spend $6 million to buy 30 acres and they can't even put cars to visit the place. If you want to talk about illegal parking and all that, just go out and watch what's going on in Yorkland all the time. It's a bit ridiculous. It's a beautiful park and you can't get there. Maybe 20 cars can go out and park at a time. 701 Valley Road, the Brick Ranch is no longer there, and that is owned by Joe Setting, and he's actually allowed us to put our signs there this year for the 4th of July, because our neighbors next door are getting a new fence, and that one will be coming down soon, so we had to make alternate arrangements, so I'm a little late in getting his donor signs out, but we'll be doing that shortly, as soon as the new fencing goes up. 520 Valley Road, still listed as for sale and buildable. Lately, it's been being used as a staging area for all of the DelDOT contractors that have been working up and down Valley Road. To the point that you heard earlier, what you saw or have been seeing is they're putting in a new pathway across from the Hockessin station, because they have to make the upgrades to what they're doing, so they're building the complete, they tore out the old asphalt pathway and they're putting in, it looks to be a lot wider where they can, and a lot deeper stone base, so it should last a lot longer. And they're also fixing all the curbs and catch basins up and down, which I think is indicative of a paving project coming up at some point. Because they don't usually fix all the catch basins unless they're doing that. But they're fixing curbs, shutting off some of the old entrances. Because there's several, if you drive along Valley Road, there's probably 20 entrances off of Valley Road on the east side. And most of those are being shut down for what will be there in the future. So I'm hoping, we'll see if DelDOT gets the paving. I know it's on the eventual bond bill at some point. 6042 and 6060 Limestone, major redevelopment without rezoning. That's, I think it's George Betson Company. His daughter was here, who's their VP, back in the late fall, and talking about the 80 units, 3 stories high. Haven't seen anything. I know they have to work with HUD to get certain funding in place and plans filed, but we haven't heard a lot from that, so it's just in the preliminary stages, and they have filed, I think they did file their exploratory, so they should be moving on. we'll see what happens at that one, but it'll be, that's the one, just, it's 4% low income. Everybody keeps thinking it's like Section 8, it's 4% low income based on the median income for the area. So I think the median income around here is around $75,000 or something like that. So it's not too far off. We just heard about the former Exxon in Richardson. And Valley Grove, DelDOT finished the paving, I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So they are in the final process of acceptance, and if that happens, then those streets become state streets, put in the inventory, and that should close out the community, other than the few homes that are left to be built and sold, a total of 56. At Hockessin Station, if you notice, they've been doing a lot of construction on the underground utilities. As you're coming up, heading south, on the left side from Evanston, those are all where the single-family homes will be. The single-family home lots will be on the north side of the project, and then the townhomes and twins and everything will be on the south side of the project, heading towards Limestone Road. And then, of course, there's Pete. The historic marker is still up in the air. Okay, no news on that. What do we gotta do? Do we have to wait till the new budget year or something? And
I don't know anything about it.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
No information.
No information, all right. Lantana Square, nothing new to report there. Cell phone towers in the area, we have 2 of the 3. As of, I think, last week, there has been no word from DENREC as to acceptance of the site in Yorkland up by the Marshall Museum. I believe Verizon also has to approve it based on cost to bring up the utilities and phone lines. So they could still, Verizon could still say, we're not happy with the site. But at this point, that was the backup site to the original one. I think the big thing, one of them was, of course, the windmill versus whatever the other ones are, faux pine trees. But that third location could be installed on state property, but they may not. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. But it's, Janet, if I'm correct, it's not a done deal yet. DENREC hasn't said okay, and Verizon hasn't said okay.
They have to go through negotiations.
Okay. All right. 1510 Paper Mill, proposed redevelopment with rezoning from S to ST, which is suburban to suburban transition. 32 age restricted homes. Retain 1 existing 2-story historic home and garage. Nothing new on that. That'll probably be something that will happen in the next year to 18 months based on the normal process. And Hockessin Corner, and has been listed for sale. No idea what it is, but I'm guessing it's north of $5 million, based on just the values of the property, buildings, and property and the buildings, from what they show on the commercial site where I found this. 6.13 acres, it's zoned commercial neighborhood, so it would not be another Lantana. And also has the hometown overlay. 246 parking spaces, 4 buildings, 51,700 square feet, 80% leased. Most of them have 4.5 years to go. Let's see what goes, but I'm guessing a major redevelopment with mixed use or completely modernized buildings, keeping the historic barn, because that actually does fall under historic. And we'll keep an eye on that, and I'm sure the county's historic review will also weigh in on that as well. So that's everything I've got on land use. Any questions or comments?
Yeah. This 4% low income, that comes out to 3.2 units.
It's not very many.
So
It's still market. The price for all of it is around. You have to meet certain thresholds for the pay, which is like 75,000 a year or something.
but that's not a whole lot of units.
Okay, that's Hockessin Corners in the community overlay, that's gonna be subject to draft approval too, or?
It should be for signage, if there's any signage change, yes. Yeah. Let's see, anything else? Oh, I forgot to mention you guys are doing your project's kicking off big time on the soccer field at the Hat.
Be done by the next meeting.
Awesome, I didn't say, a project that got started early and finished early.
Oh, it got started early, we were working on that for a couple of years.
Yeah, I know, but
We're
we're
there,
actually
yeah.
shoveling the ground, as they say.
Yeah.
Don't
Shovel
jinx
where
it,
you
Mark.
see.
Almost done.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, I know, don't. All right, okay, I think what we need to do now is, Trish, you wanna take and provide the elections, and we have some candidates for the slate to join the Gator Board.
Did you wanna do anything about that?
Mike Smith's letter, everybody got Mike Smith's letter in the mail today or yesterday?
Over the weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be next.
All right, one of these pieces of paper is my election.
So who is up first for the election?
All right, we have a number of people who are up for re-election. I emailed this out to the board members. We have Bonnie Allen, Village of Manly, Jeff Bricker, Hockessin Woods, Thomas Bruno, McGovern Road, Trish Cavender, Village of Manly, Mike Cincherato, Limestone Road, Robert D. Pietropalo, Wellington Hills, Isaac Jabola Carolus, Greater Sharpless Road Association, Ken Murphy, Ramsey Ridge, Sal Canariello, sorry, Fox Meadow, Jack Kwan, Westover Chase, Eugene Rubinsky, Hickory Hill, Mike Small, Gateway Townhomes, and Mark McGee, Hickory Hill. Some of these are replacements, some are in addition. So, and the term runs from 2026 to 2029. And for our board, we have President Mark Blake, Vice President Tom Bruno, Vice President Trish Cavender, Treasurer Joe Hackman, and we have an opening for secretary. Do we have anyone who would like to volunteer to run for secretary? Don't all speak at once.
We're gonna do a lottery next time, we're just gonna give everyone's name, pull a slip, and whether you want to or not, you're gonna be voluntold. All right, let's do this first. Let's take a motion to accept the slate of nominees as presented. So moved. Do we have a second? All right, any discussion? Anybody you want to dish dirt on or disqualify them?
You wanna throw anybody off, or you wanna add anybody?
I was gonna joke and say Ken Murphy, he's gotta show up to a meeting at least once in a while.
Well, we have a couple of people that don't show up to meetings. We're not gonna
I was
name
being funny,
names.
I always joke with Ken about that, when you're gonna show up. Since I get the emails. All right, seeing none, all in favor of the slate as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? You could have voted, nobody would have known. We do voice votes. Okay, you wanna do the officers next?
Sure.
Pete, I'm gonna make you the honorary chair for the vote, seeing as how we're all up, so for the call of the slate of officers.
It's on the bottom.
We're right here. Yeah.
Here.
You know us, we live in the same town.
And we're doing it all at once?
Just a motion for the, for the slate, and then we'll do a nomination.
A motion for all the officers, Mark Blake for president, Tom Bruno for vice president, Trish Cavender for vice president, and Joe Hackman for treasurer. All in favor?
A motion.
A motion, oh, okay.
And a second. All right. Any discussion or nominations? This is where nobody
Any
wants to
discussion?
do it. This is how I got on here 20 years ago. I didn't realize.
Strange you.
By the way, I now have to change my saying. Joe is younger than me, so I'm no longer the youngest person on GHADA, and we're about to have younger people, which would be even better. So, all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
All right, thank you. Once more into the record books we go. And Pete, while you're there,
Sure.
Historic Society.
Sure.
Tell us what's happening in history.
You keep bringing up the Burt Robinson House on Valley Road. That's where the historic marker that was supposed to be installed by the developer, I don't talk to the developer, and it's not an official historic marker. So I have no idea what's going on with that. The more concerning part for me is the historic barn that's attached, that's right next to that house. Every time I drive by, I'm expecting it to be ripped down because they're continuing to do improvements very quickly there. And that barn is not slated to be saved, I don't think.
No.
So
Yeah, it didn't pass historic review. It has a dirt floor and half of the supporting timbers were rotted. So not significant, unfortunately.
not significant, not safe.
Yeah.
But part of the historic marker was the spigot that's attached to it, and apparently that's more important than the barn itself. But you know, the school kids stopped to drink water from there, so I guess that's important. We have our meeting on Wednesday, so that's over at our museum. Is everybody aware that we have a Hockessin museum, Hockessin History Museum? Yeah, everybody knows where it is? Over at Tweets Tavern. So the building in front is the Tweets Tavern. We call the building behind it our History Museum. So that's on Fitness Way. So that's at 7 o'clock. Our social is 6:30. And if you are not a member, it's $15 for membership dues, and then you get to volunteer and do work. So we're looking for board members also. Definitely, we need help. So if you have any business experience, it's very easy, and then you can add it to your list of volunteer work that you do in the community. So we could always use help. And Juneteenth, so there's a handout for it. One of our nice volunteers made this up, so if you have any problems with it, don't complain to me. But yeah, we have the handout. Please pass it around to people. I'll be making more. There's some at the library. And that is June 17th here. And we're planning on starting around 7. It'll probably go a little bit after 9 o'clock. Don't tell the fire company because they're probably trying to get out of here by then. We're planning on live music this time. So we have a few guest speakers. We're doing shorter presentations and then some intermission in between with some live music. So that should be pretty interesting. The topics are really varied, so it should be a pretty interesting program. Last year it's going to be hard to beat because Darlene did such a great job setting up last year's program. But we'll see what we can do if we can top her program. She decided to step down from organizing it, and she nags me all the time, trying to put me on the spot. And she's curious who the speakers are, and we're keeping it a secret from everybody. So hopefully, yeah, it should be a very good program. So thanks, and I think that's all I have to say about it. Yeah, keep it simple, short.
Thank you, Pete.
Sure thing.
Mr. Hutchins, HBA tomorrow night?
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, it conflicts with the county meeting on the budget, but our meeting tomorrow is at Goldie Beacom College. Networking starts at 6, followed by the business meeting at 7. We have Rusty McCulloch, who is the librarian there, who's going to talk through artificial intelligence and its benefits as well as the challenges it presents to businesses. I will also have a discussion from Janet Mitchell, who will talk about the fundraising event that Woodside is doing, as well as members of the HBA, for the fundraiser for the fire company on June 6th. Again, as government, if you participated in the past, you know, some respective businesses are selling tickets for the cow bingo. And, you know, you purchase a plot, they send the cows out, and if you're lucky enough for the cow to do her business there, and you know, I think the prize is $500. That's the goal. But that event is on Saturday, June 6th.
$500 for craps, pretty good.
Well, the previous, from I understand, previous winners have turned around and donated the money back to the fire company. So overall, though, it's a wonderful event, and you may see at some of the businesses, Fireman Dan, they've kind of outfitted a firefighter as to all the equipment that he or she has to wear to fight a fire and the costs associated with that. So try to put some of a dent in the funds the fire company needs to operate, but it's a great community event, so families should show up and enjoy ice cream and play cow bingo.
All right. Thank you, Bill. I've noticed the theme, the social hour, is you guys have social, we don't have that at GHADA. Can we have cocktails and snacks, I guess, beforehand to draw people?
What we do is, Mark, we do is a network. You know, just kind of, new members come in and, you know, just what we do.
Wine and cheese and crackers.
It's what we do.
All right, if you haven't seen Mike's letter, always appreciate him taking time to help support Hockessin. The very first event will be June 25th, and that's the I think the 5K for fireworks, or the firecracker 5K, depending on what you call it. Fusion Racing does this every year with Nick DeClaire, does a great job, and they donate money from that to the fireworks. So basically, everything they get for that day comes into the Hockessin fireworks. There's a link in the letter for everything to sign up and register. And then, of course, we have the relays, which the Hockessin Athletic Club takes care of. If it wasn't for them, I don't know anybody that would do that. Janet did it years ago, and I think it's the one that nobody wants to do because trying to hurt young kids is sort of worse than trying to hurt cats.
Actually, I never did that.
Really?
Really, it was two guys from Standing Woods that started
Oh,
it.
wow.
They-
Everyone was lying to me.
I think it
Told me
was
I had to do it.
I'd like the second year, once they saw what was going on, they said, can we do this? And absolutely.
Nice. Well, I'm glad they do it because I've been down there and it's like, it's fun to watch. It really is, but oh my gosh, you have to organize it. I thank the Hack folks for doing it. They put a big group together and take care of everything. Parade at 3. We expect it to be a very lively parade because it's not only the 250th, but it's an election year and already the political people wanting to get in the parade are coming in. So we shall see. Trying to still get some bands. I have not had a lot of luck. I tried to get some historical reenactors, and I'm waiting to hear from a couple. Even worked on a potential flyby with the U.S. military, but haven't heard back from that one since I submitted everything. So I don't know, maybe it'll be a surprise and they'll just show up. But I think I went back and forth about 20 times with the emails and everything to fill it all out. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens. And then, of course, the fireworks that we talked about, which are going to be a lot more expensive than they were in the last year. I'm sure they'll go down next year because it'll be back to normal. And Wilmington won't be doing their fireworks next year. But definitely can use volunteers for the parade. That's the biggest manpower event to try to stage everybody and keep everybody moving smoothly. Last year it went very well. I think we had a retired military captain or major, and she was fantastic. She was very on the ball, working with a bunch of the other volunteers and made sure everything went off just swimmingly. So beyond that, that's where we're at. And of course, fundraising is going to be key. So if you start getting emails from me and phone calls, you'll know why. We're going to try to ask everyone to donate a little bit more than they had in the past to make up for that extra cost of the fireworks this year. And next year, we'll hopefully be back to normal. All right, that's everything I've got. Other than on the agenda, I forgot to change the date for June 15th when we will be doing a candidates forum and debate here at the Fire Hall. At this point, it'll probably be the Newcastle County 3rd District. If we have any others that are running for the other representative or Senate districts that have filed by then or declared, we will invite them as well. But I don't see a whole lot of other contested races at this point. It will be what it is, so we'll do that. And we can hear from the candidates, ask questions, and go from there. Good of the order. Anybody have anything coming up?
Try to get the Attorney General candidates.
We have 2 AGs, 2 running for AGs.
You get 3 treasurer candidates too. Well, 4 if you include the Republican. And then 3, on AG if you include the Republican.
One just filed over the weekend.
Fencing.
From ACLU.
Yeah.
Do you consider 12 irrelevant? Because there are candidates, I mean, there's a candidate and the increment 12.
Do you people want to include the rest of the room in this
So sorry.
conversation?
No, I'm
Now,
just trying to
some of
think.
us have no
I don't
idea
know.
what you're talking
Hope is not in our geographic overlay though, I don't think, anymore. I have to look. I don't think it is.
And then do you consider 23 irrelevant?
23.
23 will do their own forum at some
Yeah,
point.
they're down. We have 21, Pike Creek, 22 for state rep, 7 Senate, Dave Sokola, and Senate 4. Those are the only ones. We used to have 3 and 3.
Sokola is 8.
Say again?
Sokola is 8. SD8.
It's called eight, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll see if I can reach out to them and get them to show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month on the 15th of June. Adjourned.
Busy week. You gotta use that.